Hello, Warriors. How are you? Hi, Kevin. Yes, John. 5 a.m. I get up about 3:30 a.m. My life is like a farmer, John. Up before sunrise, asleep after sundown, except that I nurture seeds of greed for the harvest of pips. Hi, Patrick. How are you? Although I really don't have to nurture seeds of greed because it's not always greed why we trade. We trade. Hi, Abdul. We trade so we can take care of our families. So it's noble. It's not greedy. Ziggy, how are you? William, Vlad, Zia. Okay. I just want to draw everyone's attention to the yen. This is your weekly chart right here. So we're right up against this downtrend. I'm not saying that you have to be aggressively short. It's more of a warning if you're long. There's still room for it to go on the 1 hour. As you can see, this is a confirmed high up here. But on the 4 hour time frame, it's pretty glaring. And just in case there is a risk off move, the S&Ps aren't quite at new highs yet. Say they fail from here. Look at them. And they still can. You know, we're still about 7 handles away. Grinding up here, looks incomplete. 1, 2, maybe we get another shot down. So be careful with your long outright US dollar yen trades here. I think aggressive traders can attempt shorts. You see the glaring divergence here under 70. I still think that regardless of maybe a bit more upside, in my humble opinion, that there's still a shot for it to pull back to say 10.5. Okay, in the coming days, especially if we get a sell-off. And I think going into Friday with what's happening in North Korea, people are less likely to want to go home long over a weekend. All right, updating Euro Yen yesterday, I said I liked it. I'm not impressed with this bounce here, so I talked about a 2 drive here. And you could trade 2 drives, but it really didn't have that much momentum. It still would have been successful for about 50 pips. But now it's looking like we could get a 3 here. So I would step aside if you're long and book it. Everyone with me on that? And this is what it possibly could do to get some type of 3 drive, starting to put in some kind of wedge here. So, you know, I don't like to fade Grega, but I remember when Blake and Maven Steve, candlestick analysis, when we were up here, I think even face member Hardianto was talking about maybe a move down to 29 first. That would definitely shake a lot of people up. But in my view, this is a pretty weak rebound. Maybe it's only 38%, 23%. Talking about weak rebounds, here's one. The U.S. bond, you know, I was hoping for a market sell-off. Maybe we're going to get it from here because we're diverging. But all we could do is retrace 23%. So you know a market's in trouble when it's doing this, but it looks like we're on our 2nd drive. Decent divergence in bonds. So if we get a pop out of bonds, we should get a pullback in the yen. Everyone with me? Give me a Y if you're with me. You don't have to agree. I know we all have our own views. You know, I'm just doing a little mentoring, a little coaching, not just telling you what I think, but the whys behind it. Okay? So I want you to understand the whys so you can repeat it on your own, right? I mean, we're all here to be self-directed traders. So our goal at ForexAnalytix is that you're here because you choose to be here, not because you need to be here. I think there are a lot of people that need to. They're still in the learning curve. You're welcome, David. Thank you. So also want to remind everyone what Alexandros Fontes said yesterday. And although I have nothing showing RSI-wise, you know, the 4 hours confirming on this, the 1 hour is diverging, but the readings are not ideal for my signals. You know, we are diverging between these two lows here, but it's 20. But we could get a pop at any time. But Alex's point were the clouds, if you recall, or you watch the video of the interview, he didn't think we'd get much under 117. So if you're in the camp that this still could be a wave 4 in the dollar, I'll be interested to see if this was enough for Steve and Blake to be convinced. But if you're in that camp that it's a wave 4, then you're thinking there still could be one more shot down. Otherwise, the bulls are saying that's it, we bottomed, and we're on our way to 94 minimum, maybe 97. But there's some pretty good traders. Grega is still thinking that this still could be a 4, and that we'd get one more slam, one more washout to new lows to complete it. I don't know, I don't see it, but even if you were a dollar bull, it's been a nice run in the last week or two. Nothing wrong with taking something just in case, right? In case risk off does come in and we don't blast to new highs in the S&Ps. So the last thing I want to cover is CAD. You know, I think there are position shorts coming in here. And I was in the trading room yesterday talking about the fact I was trying to be patient. That we've had 3 drives. This could qualify for a 3, 1, 2, 3 diverging. But when I was in the trading room yesterday, I said, you know, I'm trying to be patient. I'm a little jaded. It was a nice reversal. Not sure this is it. That on a 3rd drive, you could have a fractal of a 3, which means you on your 3rd drive, with this being the major 1, major 2, and the 3rd drive, within the 3rd drive, you get a 3. So far I see 1, I see 2. So getting closer to where it's going to be worth taking a shot. The dollar's strength bothers me, but I'd like to just see one more high in Canada here, maybe up towards 24.50 or so, another 60 pips, and it may be worth taking a stab at it up here. I have a moving average of 24.65. So that's the area I would probe shorts. You could manage risk above this high, above 126.60. So I know that's a big risk to most people, but sometimes that's what you have to do. And the reason I'm focused on this is oil looks good to me. And if you go to Nick's work on Canada, she's still looking for one more washout. Remember, we were talking about long-term objectives of 116. Everyone remember that? 116, and with crude having a breakout here, I think it's a breakout unless we close back under, say, 49.5. And I think that we could go to 60, 62. And I know everyone's saying that the correlation between oil and Canada hasn't been working, but I don't think that correlation could hurt it. You'll be bullish with odds breaking down. Okay, V, I'm thinking Aussie holds 77.80. I'm glad you brought it up, but I just want to show you Nick's look on Canada, because that's a great point. We close under that level in Aussie, you're going to be right. It's a big failed breakout, but here's what Nick is saying. So between here and 461, so I'll be taking a shot up here to see if there's one more break. You know, this could be drive 1, drive 2, and a great point made by V in Aussie. And I think Alex also showed this. You get a bigger picture here on the weekly, that we had an ascending triangle breakout at about 77.80, like V is saying, 85. And if we take this out, then we have a very negative situation. It would have just been, you have a lot of people trapped. I'm thinking we hold here, V, so we'll see. My bias is to buy it into this range and short Canada when. And this is another way to key off a Canada short. Just wait for another, where are we at now? 70 pips lower in Aussie. And at this level, see where Canada is at. And if the RSI is diverging, you could go with both. So if U.S. declares war, what will happen to oil? A lot of people are saying higher, which I don't understand. They're not a producer. Maybe it's just the chaos in the world, you know, collateral damage. Let's pray that doesn't happen. Right. That's right, Lowell. You're thinking EG down one more 100 pips, Jess? Okay. I think even Stelios is covering his shorts, and so you're thinking down another 100. That's your weekly. I have a big moving average at 87.16. I do have some divergences on the 4 hour. Pretty glaring too. Yeah, I mean, look at this reading. 17. And it's starting to have a little bit of a wedge look. So, yeah, maybe we get this capitulation move down and that we're due for some type of rally. I think that the weekly actually shows it back some fib percentage of this. So, and moving average is coming in here. Good eye. I don't know if there's 100 left, but possibly. All right, thank you, Dimitri. All right, it's time to lateral the ball to one of the F-18 members. I've rambled quite a bit. We have a great guest today. We have Mandy Rafsanjani. Anyone know Mandy, her work? We're both trading shrinks, trading psychiatrists. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Mandy and give her a warm welcome because she's staying up burning the midnight oil. Anthony knows her because she's in Australia. Okay, so I've gotten a lot of good respect tweets about her. She's helped many traders. If you stick around, she may help you. And then tomorrow I'm bringing back Jim Welsh. Jim, you know, I can't go anywhere or trade the markets with a big picture besides Stelios Contos. Jim Welsh is one of the better thinkers when it comes to central banks and the Fed, and a great tactician in different asset classes. He's going to be talking about the Fed and Draghi tomorrow. Yeah, you want one right now in EU. Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over to one of my teammates. What's great about FACE is it doesn't matter who's talking, you'll be learning. Because whoever is talking, I learn. So, is that you, Blake?
It is. Good morning, Dale.
Hey, brother, how are you?
Good. Just a little bewildered by the dollar strength. Well, actually, I shouldn't be. I must admit that the dollar strength is really, you know, what have we been talking about is the key driver for the dollar
bonds
as of late. Yeah, bonds.
Yields.
Right. Exactly. So, you know, if you look at the bond market here, and let me go over to the 10-year. Let me get over to it. There it is. Okay,
yeah, made a new low today.
Yeah, we made a new low. We had this bear flag, you know, developing, and so with bonds making a new trend low here, it shouldn't be surprising that the dollar has gained some strength. Now, the only issue that I see in the bond market right now is the divergent relative strength. So, you know, as the market is seeing some divergent relative strength, we've got to be a little cautious of this. And I, you know, I'm looking around and I see a lot of dollar pairs, you know, dollar pairs at some key levels. I mean, you know, so first of all, we've got the euro. Now the euro, I had apparently prematurely covered my short in the euro dollar, but it's still making its way lower at this point. We are at 127% extension. We're very oversold on a 4-hour chart. You can see the 4-hour chart doesn't get this oversold that often, and when it does, you know, you tend to get, you know, some reaction. I mean, whenever we're this sold off, we get some at least stabilization, if not you know, a bounce. So you have to be really careful about, you know, being short the euro. I'm not saying that the euro is ready to go to 122 either. Yeah, I mean, the euro's, it's possible at this point that we do bounce. Now we have data coming out today. It's not like there's no data coming out. We have durable goods orders, pending home sales. We have crude oil inventories, that which could obviously move the needle for crude, as you were just discussing it. Well, Brainerd is speaking. So there's a lot of, you know, potential movers in the dollar today. And again, the dollar might be a little overbought on an intraday basis. I'm not sure, again, if the dollar is going to get a recovery, but if you are, or excuse me, a little bit of a pullback, but if you're long the dollar, you got to be a little careful. Now, the pound actually had a nice little drop below 134, took out some stops, and actually I had an order to buy the pound dollar right here at 134.10 last night, and so when I woke up, I'd already been long the pound. It's very, very, very small position, nothing to write home about. But as you guys know, at least most of you know, I've been looking to buy the pound, and I'm, you know, I wanted to start nibbling as it got down here, so that's what I'm doing. I'm now nibbling on the long side of the pound. But I'm also aware that the dollar is really, you know, making a recovery. I mean, if you look at the dollar index, the dollar index is we broke the spike high from yesterday. We had a spike high here, rejected that resistance, and I thought the dollar was going to turn lower, but again, you know, because bonds hit new lows, yields continued higher, the dollar index is pushed up, and we're at right now, you can see here, okay, we're at a 78% retracement in the dollar index. So pretty key resistance. You know, this is one of those situations where you can see the dollar hit a new trend high, relative strength is not hitting a new high. So again, this is where if you're long the dollar, you got to go, you know, I don't know. And you were talking about the dollar yen. The dollar yen, it really, it's at the 78% retracement. There is some divergence there as well. You can see this, you know, divergence in relative strength. We hit the 78% retracement too. Yeah, and you mentioned if you want to be aggressive, you can short a little dollar yen here. But I'll tell you, the dollar yen short trade has been a very tough trade. It has not wanted to move lower. I mean, the dollar yen has been stubbornly strong as of late. Even in, you know, yesterday when we had the news of, you know, North Korea saying that, Trump tweets were a declaration of war. I mean, the dollar yen, you know, still had a very minor pullback. So it's interesting to see what the dollar does here. We are at some key inflection points. I actually I sold some dollar Canadian yesterday, and I was up like 40-50 pips, and now I'm actually down a little bit in the trade because it's come back. But the dollar Canadian continues to stay below the 124 level, which is as you guys know, in my opinion, it's a multi-year trend line. I mean, that's all there is to it. There's no, there's no other way for me to explain that we're just testing the underside of a major trend line. If you guys know, especially those of you that know the way that I trade, I'm always willing to take a retest of a trend line after a major break, and it's almost universal. Doesn't mean I always make money, because I don't, but it is whenever you get a trend line retest, I'm pretty much going to be there if I think it's significant. And this one, in this case, I believe is significant. You know, are we going to see a turn lower in the dollar Canadian? I hope so, but again, it really depends on how the rest of the dollar complex does around here. And I'm not, and I look at the dollar, and the dollar looks extremely strong. Look at some of these Nordic currencies that we've been talking about, Dale.
Yeah.
And look at the U.S. dollar Swedish krona. Okay, the U.S. dollar Swedish krona has had a massive rally from this base. I mean, we've gone from basically 8 over the last 2 days. We've gone from 8 to 8.16, which is a very big 2% rise just in a couple of days in the U.S. dollar Swedish krona. I mean, that's a big move. So, you know, the dollar is showing strength. You got the U.S. dollar Norwegian krona.
Well, Velu turned bullish.
Huh?
Velu.
Velu?
Is it? Isn't he from Sweden?
He is from Finland.
Oh, okay. I always get those confused. All right.
All right.
SCM is. Yeah, that is a good pop, and I think you've been in and out of this a few times this week.
I've been playing the U.S. dollar Swedish krona to the long side. I was not long overnight. Unfortunately, I didn't capture this big move, but I've been playing it to the long side the last couple of days. So it has been a decent a decent recovery. And now, you know, it's like, okay, I missed that move. I'm not really too sure what to do. Like here's the U.S. dollar Mexican peso. This one, I'm really bummed out that I wasn't long overnight. I actually sold this yesterday at 18. I've been playing this to the long side the last few days, and it's now we're well above 18. So now any dip to 18 should be very well supported. But you know, this U.S. dollar Mexican peso has actually really turned the corner here. So I mean, we're seeing the dollar really show some signs of strength, which makes me a little nervous about being short the dollar, you know, and again, I've got a dollar Canadian short. I'm long a little pound dollar, and I'm not comfortable. You know, I don't like being in the market and not feeling comfortable. And right now I've got that very uncomfortable feeling at the moment, which if you're short the dollar in any way, shape, or form, you probably feel the same way. So at this stage in the game, you just got to be really careful, because the last thing you want to do is see, a trade run away from you at this point. But you know, I'm looking at the dollar, knowing that it's pretty overbought. I think we need to get through, you know, some of this data that's coming out here in the next few minutes too. We have durable goods orders that are going to be, you know, possibly moving the market.
Okay.
Yeah, and so anyway, you know, that's what I'm thinking here. I'd like to hear with because you know, there were some of the traders, our team, that were looking at the euro dollar as possibly bouncing yesterday. Steve, on the other hand, he was not. He was continuing to stay short. No, he was continuing to stay short the euro dollar. So, Steve, I'd like to hear what your comments here, you know, at this point in time with the move that we've seen overnight.
Hey, Blaker. Hey, Dale. Hey, everybody. Good morning.
Mr. Discipline.
Yeah, you know.
You've got it, man. Saint
I
Steve, patience of a saint.
I really started seeing, you remember, Dale, we talked yesterday about seeing one by one the signs in several pairs aligning about upcoming dollar strength. We have a lot more things that have happened overnight. You remember that I specifically showed the USD ZAR. It has broken out to the upside. It was in a triangle, in a prolonged triangle. So you know, this one broke out
Yeah,
Very, very
these emerging market currencies look really strong, right? Or weak, I should say. The dollar looks really strong against them.
Yeah, yesterday, Blake, I showed, probably you weren't here because it was some time after I started speaking, so I'm sure you were trading. I showed like 3-4 different emergency, what the hell am I talking about? Emerging market currencies. That all of them were either already turning or were about to turn higher. USDZAR was one of them. And, you know, I said specifically that, you know, these ones are sending a signal as well. And as you see, USDZAR, for example, did the move today. Aussie is continuing lower, Euro is continuing lower. And I really still see on my feed as well a lot of people looking to fade this move prematurely. I warned yesterday that you know, probably this time trying to fade this too early might be you know, yeah, might be painful, might be a mistake. And we also said specifically that probably the fact that a lot of people are looking to fade it prematurely is also what might end up feeding this dollar strength that's coming in, because, you know, we see a lot of disbelief. I mean, and it completely makes sense. Every single time the dollar tried to have a bounce during the past 9 months, it immediately failed, immediately. But, you know, it happens once, it happens twice, it happens 5 times, it happens 10 times. And then
so it becomes a new paradigm, and then people
exactly.
saying,
Nobody believes it. Nobody believes in it.
Yeah, they say, I'll never try and bottom pick this dollar again. And right when they're saying that is when they should be.
More or less, yes.
Yeah, I know. Who hasn't lived through that?
Yeah.
You try it. You try a trade. You try a trade. You let go, and then it happens.
All of us, undoubtedly, all of us.
Yeah.
All of us.
Well, here's, you know, and speaking of what, I mean, this is a really good example. I mean, you have the dollar yen that just continues to push higher. You know, this one has been relentlessly strong ever since we had this false breakdown. This was 2 weeks ago. You know, we had this false breakdown below 108, and then ever since then we've been pretty much balls of the wall, really strong. And it's been a tough one to fade. I've tried to fade it a few times over the last week, and it's very tough making money on the short side of this thing.
That is very, very, very true. And, you know, we need to see how the story with the Japanese elections is going to unfold as well. From what it seems for the time being, it proves to be yen negative. The fact that Abe is looking to, most probably without much of an issue, renew the term of his government. So, you know, a lot of expectations on that as well, and for the time being it's feeding as long, of course, as and most importantly, as you showed, Blake, the treasuries seem to have resumed their move lower. We had until last Friday, we had 10 consecutive days of weakness in the treasuries, and as it seems, after a couple of days of a bounce, they're back into trading weak, and obviously that feeds into the USD yen, since it's probably the most sensitive currency pair having to do with yields.
Yeah, and it is continuing to push higher as bonds press lower. Now we do have some economic data. I'm going to sit with you as the data is released. I'm going to pass it over to you as I get ready for the trading day. But I think we should keep an eye on the dollar. The dollar index continues to press higher. You know, I was surprised actually at the rejection that we had yesterday in the dollar index, and then the continuation. Like, I thought this rejection here was a really key rejection yesterday, but we have, like I said, we've continued to press higher. So when I got up this morning and I saw this dollar strength, I was a little set back. I didn't expect the dollar to be where it's at today. I really didn't. So.
By the way, do we have the time? No, we get the data now. Having to do with the USD, with the USD NOK you were showing before. USD NOK is very, very interesting because it also has an inverted head and shoulders formation. we can look at it, after we get the data, because it's a matter of seconds now from what I see.
Yeah.
So let's see what we get.
The NASDAQ hasn't repaired much of its damage, and we have Trump talking tax plan today. So it's going to be an interesting day to see how much NASDAQ could get back. And with the yen strength, I'm almost a little surprised we're not at new highs in the
very good US data. 1.7% versus 1% expected durable goods.
Yeah, so there goes the dollar yen. The dollar yen is pressed above 113. The euro dollar has not seen much of a move lower. Dollar Canadian's back above 124. The pound dollar's at 134. So some good data pushing the dollar higher, and so this is just continuing that dollar strength. I mean, we're at basically highs of the day in the dollar index. So now stocks, interestingly enough, have responded somewhat negative, but I don't know if that's.
And you know what? The yen is putting in a nice tail. If I'm looking at Steve's chart, it's a pretty.
No, you're still looking at Blake's screen.
Oh, okay. So that, yeah.
Just a 5-minute chart. I mean, it's very.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not anything that I would be too terribly worried about. But I mean, if we drop back below 112.90, then you gotta be a little worried that we got the buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. But before I go, hey guys, this is the last week of our offer, and so make sure that you take advantage of it. I mean, we have in our chat room, just to give you an example, we have 52 traders that are in there, and we're all talking we're all very active in the markets. We're all, talking charts and, and discussing things amongst each other. To take advantage of being in this chat room, this is a private chat room for ForexAnalytix subscribers. You have to be a subscriber with a semi-annual or annual plan, or you've been going month to month for the last 6 months or more. And this price that we have is only good until the 2nd, which is on Monday. Is Monday the 2nd?
Yes.
Monday the 2nd. Yeah, so you have just a few more days to take advantage of it. So do it, because the prices are very low. And
Blake, that trading room you've opened up, I've spent a little bit of time in there. It reminds me of LAR. Unlike FACE, it's completely collaborative. So, you get a chance to express yourself, share your work. And I've always encouraged people to share their work, because it makes them accountable, because they only want to show their best, and it's going to make you a better trader to get in there and not just be a spectator, but get involved with the community. And you'll see that people will support you. You may put up an idea, and then you'll get a counter idea with a chart, and it's going to, hone your skills and give you other things to consider. So yeah. Great trading room, man.
Thanks. It's great. I mean, we all have fun and chat about the markets. I mean, it's awesome. It's a great place to be, for people that are active in the market. So anyway, I hope you guys take advantage of it.
And Matt has by far the best GIFs on the planet, right?
Yes, he does. Absolutely, he does. He wins the award. All right, you guys have a great trading session. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
I like the way the pound is bouncing off your blue line right there, Steve. Maybe this is it today.
For the time being, it has held perfectly. For the time being, although as I said yesterday as well, I'm absolutely okay with the idea of penetrating through and seeing what it's going to do in this zone then at around 132, 50, 60, 70, around there, which was this area that rejected price action when we were going higher in this ascending wedge. So I'm perfectly okay with seeing it go even lower. And no
one else would be if they just bought it.
I have to tell you something. I'm actually going to start buying the pound today. I'll explain why. Because I see it behave better. So I'm not looking to top pick the dollar here, because I still believe that we have more dollar strength. But since I'm about to start adding more long dollar positions, I don't mind being short some dollar against the pound because it's doing better than the rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of it gives your position some balance too.
Or you can even see it, as partially as a synthetic trade that I can create this way. For example, I'm still short the Aussie USD. So
Right.
if I'm also long the pound USD, in essence, I'm synthetically long the pound Aussie, right?
Right.
So,
Got it.
for example, it just takes away from the table some of the US dollar exposure I have and creates a synthetic trade. Anyhow, I'm still short the Euro USD. I'm still short the Aussie USD. They're doing just fine. I'll probably add some of this, but I'm about to add, a decent amount of more dollar long exposure because let's start seeing of some very interesting charts. First of all, this is the USD NOK. You remember that I had been short the NOK for a long period of time. I was 3 times short the NOK. All of the times I managed to make money out of it because it was quite clean, but I'm now seeing several elements here, which are, we had the RSI divergence, we had this trend line, we're breaking above it. It's still within an ascending channel, so this can easily be an ABC correction, but 8 is a critical level. So if I see that this strength is accelerating, we also have the potential of creating an inverted head and shoulders. So for example, if we turn back down here, we can also have, get ourselves an inverted head and shoulders. So, USD NOK seems interesting to me. Of course, unless we clear the 8 level, we've plenty of times talked about its significance. You can see it here. I cannot be long, but I'm monitoring because this looks like a very nice bottoming formation for now. I'm not going to show you the USD SEK because Blake already showed that, and I think it's quite clear as well. But let's revisit some of the pairs we had a look at yesterday. USD ZAR. Unfortunately, I'm not long the USD ZAR because I was busy today with development stuff. And when I looked at the market, it had already, yesterday we closed here. So I have this zone as well, which means that, I was expecting to see a break above this zone for me to have full confirmation. Unfortunately, this happened within a few hours. So, a retest of this zone is what I'm waiting to get me long USD ZAR as well. So this is what now I'm hoping for. Something like this, like a little retracement back, and I'm going to be long the USD ZAR. USD Turkish Lira, I talked about it in the chat room as well several days ago, not just yesterday that we talked about it here. It's not offering a pullback yet, but I think that it's more or less clear that it has turned. This move, seems to be impulsive in the short term. It looks really nice. Any retracement, I'm probably buying some of it as well. It depends on how many of these things I end up buying, of course.
So the lira is going to turn into a turdigan. I mean an erdogan. Turdigan.
Your unique sense of humor. Yeah, and most importantly, I don't want to forget to show this.
Nice, Luca.
Because we talked about it several times. Now, here it is. It's the USD Swissy, which is finally on, the zone that will actually tell us what happens from here, because this 0.9750 to 70, let's call it, zone, as you see, has been tested and has rejected price action multiple times. Okay, so a break above here is going to be extremely critical and most likely is going to extend the pair, quite a lot higher. What I'm targeting, we have this resistance zone, but what I'm really targeting if we break above here is this 161.8 fib extension, which also comes very close to this horizontal zone, which both of them are very, very close to parity. Okay, so I'm going to get involved with this as well, which also is going to work very nicely because things with North Korea have calmed down again. So this might be a good opportunity for the Swissy to start weakening once again. As you see in the Euro Swiss, we had, after the North Korea incident, we had this rejection above the triangle, but we've come back to test the triangle's resistance once again. So, you know, if things calm down, this might be an area that the Swiss is going to start weakening again, and that is obviously going to help the USD Swiss overperform the Euro USD once again, while it underperformed just for a couple of days here. So, you know, the USD Swiss is now on my radar as well, because we are just there, just on the critical zone. So, you know, all of these, USD yen, by the way, after the data is breaking out as well. It had this little nice confluence of the 78.6 and this descending trend line. As it seems, you know, we're breaking above it. Of course, we need to see a daily close, but this is going to be a bullish break as well. The DXY is actually looking very good today for finally a close above 93 and a decisive one. So you see, everything is aligning, telling us that, you know, we're getting the reversal we were looking for here.
So this number, today is really the first day if we close here that you're, I know you've been playing it already, but
yeah,
you're completely convinced now that this turn is real in the dollar.
Completely, for me to say that I'm completely convinced, I need a daily close above 94.20. But
okay, that was Greg's number too, right? 94.20.
Yes, because if you see 94.20, and you know, I told him that I agree with him, is the first time if we close above it that we will actually register a higher high in the index since January. Okay, so technically speaking, not only because of Elliott wave, but from basic technical analysis, that on its own is going to be significant. But even if we want to talk Elliott wave, you know, I'm not doing sequences of Elliott wave analysis like Greg is doing, like starting from a 1 hour chart, going to a 4 hour chart, going to a daily, going to a weekly. But I'm always monitoring to, you know, Elliott wave counts in the short term. But I can easily already see with this acceleration we're seeing here, I can easily see like a 1, a 2. If we keep accelerating, this being a 3, you know what I mean? So
yeah, you know what's interesting is your target is where you anchored the top of your wedge line up there, and that's the close that you need for confirmation. But
yeah,
you know, I normally where I anchor a falling wedge line at the top on the way down, I make that my target because I'm a believer in 100% retraces of wedges. So
I'm a strong believer of descending wedges and ascending wedges. They are the most potent and reliable, in my experience, formations, technical analysis formations.
I call them falling and rising, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really believe that if this proves to be the case, we're going to get more than that, more than the 100%.
Probably up to your blue moving average into the end of the year.
It might happen because, as I was explaining yesterday, a 9-month downtrend very rarely will correct just for a week or 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you could do you know, people do time fib. So 8 months. 38% of 8 months is going to be, we could have a 3-month dollar rally.
We can, but I will tell you that I wouldn't be looking so far. I would be happy to begin with a month. So, but you know, anything less than a month looks too short to me after you confirm. Yeah, exactly. So.
Thank you, Nostromogi.
Yeah, so I think things are looking good. I'm going to keep adding dollar longs, and I really believe, I said that yesterday as well, that people should be a little bit more careful than trying to fade this move, because, you know, fading this move is what keeps it accelerating, and more likely than not, we might see more of it. You know what I mean? But by the way, just wanted to make a short comment on the DAX. As expected, this was a very bullish consolidation, because when you see a consolidation after a run that cannot even, cannot even correct lower, so we're probably on a fifth. Greg talked about it, so we might get some short-term pullback from like this zone would be nice, but the DAX remains bullish, and because I know that people keep looking at them, I can tell you that looking at the SPX, there is nothing bearish in this consolidation, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, this looks like a very healthy bullish consolidation. And having to do with the NASDAQ, I can tell you that it still looks much worse than anything else. I agree. This might end up being like a bear flag here. So definitely, if you want to be short something that has to do with risk, NASDAQ is the place to be. Okay. Personally, I would be skeptical at the moment to be short anything, although it's time for us to revisit, and sorry for not having gone back to questions yet, but we had a lot of things to say. Let's revisit some of the FANGs that are very famous. I showed those on the chat room as well a few days back after we talked about them on the webinar, all the charts. Facebook
Amazon's the weakest.
Yeah, Facebook has broken down below a range that it was holding after overshooting this huge ascending channel. You can see this.
I just saw a tweet from Zuckerberg. He unfriended you.
Oh God, no!
Because you're talking negatively about his stolen idea.
Something tells me that he would have never befriended me, because I own computers since the middle of the 80s, but I don't have a Facebook account.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
totally against Facebook.
I don't either.
I'd rather keep my personal life to myself and the people I actually want to share it with, and not strangers.
Okay, well, at least share your personal alarm clock with the community.
Oh yes, Jason, that's my son.
Yes.
Yeah, he's my personal alarm clock indeed. So this is indeed, non-stop. Amazon just at the neckline of a head and shoulders formation, after being on such a long ascending wedge, overthrowing over it, and now creating this head and shoulders. So this is on the precipice of breaking down in a really bad way as well.
And our own Nicola Duke called the top when it was under 1,000. She said 1050.
Apple,
and that was ahead of the head and shoulders. It was really something.
Apple, I have to say though that it filled the gap. If you remember, when we visited Apple several days ago, we were up here, and they said that, listen, at the very minimum, I expect this gap to be filled. So the gap got filled, and after filling the gap, we got a gap higher, okay, and we filled that gap. So for me, seeing what's going to happen today, and especially seeing what's going to happen in this zone that I've marked here, which is at around 155.50, 156.50, so around this $1.50 of range, this is very critical, because if we come up here and retest this zone and we fail, this is going to be very bearish for Apple. Okay, I think that the next target then is going to be this ascending channel, which we might meet like later on, like that somewhere there, which is also this low. So if we get rejected from here, I really believe that Apple can push down to 142.5. Okay, so Apple for the time being not looking pretty as well, although if it clears 156.50 to the upside, this invalidates this view, but for the time being it definitely looks kind of sick. So what I'm trying to say is that indeed NASDAQ is the weak link here. Okay, so for the time being, if you feel the urge to be short risk somewhere, I think NASDAQ is the place to be. Okay, so let's have a look at a few questions. Luca, looking for Euro Kiwi tonight, either on a breakdown or a pullback. Okay, yeah, somebody else also asked for Euro Kiwi. I'm going to show your chart, mate, but let me first show mine. Oh yeah, on the chat room, I think Ziggy asked about EuroKiwi. Okay, listen, EuroKiwi is still respecting the descending channel, so this is obviously a positive for anybody that wants to remain bearish. But on the other hand, we had this nice candlestick here, and we're holding, and this price action looks corrective to me. So although of course we can get another push towards 161 before we move higher, I would have to say that you know, I would be very cautious being short, very cautious. So I would either book half or trail my stop loss in my profit or something like that. Okay, so this is what I see with Eurozi. Let's with EuroKiwi, sorry. Let's see what Luca is seeing.
Hey, Ziggy, it's my chair, man. It's my chair.
Oh, so so Luca is seeing is the exact same thing. So we either break from up here or we get another push lower. Yes. So we agree 100%, Luca. You know, big minds think alike, as they say. Good morning, Dale. That was for you. I'm thinking euro pound down another 100 pips, then bounce. Okay, let's have a look at it. I'm still short, by the way.
Yes is good.
Listen, we broke below the triangle as expected.
Yeah.
My next target is 86.80. So yeah, I agree with you. 100 pips lower, perhaps even a little bit more than that, because I also have this zone. So if you see, I had drawn it since some days ago. This is what I was seeing as well, a push down here and then a bigger correction. So I'm totally with you. I remain short, and I will be short until at least close to 87. I thought if oil goes up, USD CAD goes down, maybe just me. Yes, in general, this is the correlation, which isn't that strong anymore, but yes, oil helps the oil producing countries' currencies like the Canadian dollar, the Norwegian krone, the Russian ruble appreciate. Ceteris paribus if everything else is the same. High euro pound supported at 0.236 from 2015 lows, also trend line support. Let's see what our friend Dimitri is seeing. Oh, yeah, this trend line. Yes, so you wait. Probably you put in a wrong chart here, mate. Yeah, this is not a euro pound.
A dollar breakout, though.
Yeah, this is a nice look of a dollar breakout, but you put the wrong chart in.
You know what our president would do? Whose chart is that, Lucas?
Yeah, no. That's Dimitris's.
Oh, Demetrius, you're fired.
Luca also has a look at the pound kiwi. That's what we have seen, Luca. I agree with you. A break above 189.5, if I remember, we've seen. Let's revisit it here. Yeah, a break above this trend line, extremely bullish, and it should lead a lot higher. Okay, but let's wait, because usually triangles are fourth waves. So to be honest, I would like to see a push higher, an initial failure from here to trap a lot of people being short, but then I would like to see this move lower from the channel, hold, and then push through the channel. So ideally, this is the sequence of events I would want to see with the pound kiwi. Lol, someone needs to oil their chair, Ziggy says. Trump gives tax reform speech today at 3 p.m. EST. Could move the market. Absolutely, it should probably move both risk assets and the dollar. Let's see if it's going to be overwhelming, underwhelming, etc. Long euro Swiss setup. If it spikes down to 113.50 on North Korea or Catalan referendum, Let's see what you're seeing. I already showed my chart, Luca. Yes, okay. So you're seeing a little bit lower, but definitely, regardless, it remains constructive. Closed euro yen long, letting pound yen long run. We are breaking bull flag. Thank you, Ziggy and Patricia, for the Facebook comments. Okay, let's have a look at the euro yen. If you remember, we were here with Gregor. He had a shallower target because he always, explains that he's looking at minimum expectations. If you remember, I was looking for 132. So we got a perfect test of 132. Actually, we went 30 pips lower, but it doesn't matter. And we're trying to put in a reversal here. So I have to say something. This is a good area for the euro yen to continue higher if it wants to continue higher from here. So because, it has fulfilled minimum expectations, unquestionably it has. So let's see what we get from here. If we get a bear flag and we get a penetration through this zone, then I would expect the next leg lower to take us down to this zone, okay? But until that happens, I remain a little bit cautious. I mean, this short was, let's call it easy out of this ascending wedge. But what happens from here is not, so clear. Either one more leg lower or a continuation from here. My gut feeling tells me that we might get one more leg lower, but I wouldn't trade on that. Just an opinion. Now I think things are more clear with the pound yen, because the pound yen had a much more constrained move here. So the pound yen is more obviously either looking to do something. First of all, it did this, but the question is, what kind of a move lower do we get from here? I'm guessing, let's delete this because it did exactly what.
Maybe back to the breakout.
Yeah, I mean, it can either come all the way down to here, or a more bullish scenario is.
Yeah, just never give people a chance to trade the breakout.
Just.
That is more bullish.
Yeah, just play out, and for the time being, this looks likely. Just play out this as a triangle of some kind, like this.
Or a bull flag or something.
Yeah, or bull flag, exactly. As we've said, you can never know exactly the form of the consolidation at the very beginning of it. You can just assume, is it a triangle, is it a bull flag? Regardless, this looks like it's a very shallow retracement. So for the time being, either the bull flag or the triangle interpretation seem valid. Second alternative is this, which is like a breakdown to retest 148, but definitely, I have no reason to be bearish this one, okay? It looks very strong. This more likely than not looks like a fourth wave. I mean, look how clear it is. 1, 2, 3, 4 can easily be a triangle, because triangles are very often found on fourth waves. So from there, I would expect another push higher and then a bigger correction. Okay, this also bodes well with another push higher in risk. For example, the SPX looks like it wants to push to new highs. Okay, I mean, the last 3-4 days of price action is like extremely bullish consolidation. I mean, every time it tries to move lower, we close more or less flat on the day.
You still have the pound up. I mean, the guppy up.
Sorry, say again.
Right. You're talking about the S&Ps now, right?
I know, but I saw the S&Ps before. I mean,
I see. Oh, okay.
Because I saw
one thing I would add today. Trump's going to talk about the tax package, Steve.
Yeah, I know. At 3 p.m. I just read it before. Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't like. He's had a lot of defeats lately, so people might be skeptical of what he's coming up with. It might be a buy the rumor, sell the fact on the tax plan. It
might be, but on the other hand, him knowing that he has already disappointed in the vast majority of the sectors he was trying to make a difference, he might throw in the sink for the tax reform. And regardless of if it can happen or not, because Trump has gotten used to us of saying big words, the market has tended to initially believe him, and then obstacles start coming on the way, and he might give us something like extremely
I mean, this could give you your 25, 35 too. I'm just saying if we fail to make a new high in the next 24 hours after this, I think it might be vulnerable.
I agree with you, but
that's all I'm saying.
I'm still looking at this 161.8 extension, which is exactly at 2,535, and I would really love to see a test of of that, because if I see a failure there, that's also going to mean, look at this, that's also going to mean most probably a little overthrow of this ascending channel, the blue one. So if I see a rejection from there, probably I'm actually taking that short. So if these things happen, I'm probably taking a short on the SPX. Okay, so do we have a guest for today?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Trump's candidate in Alabama been beaten. GOP will keep having second thoughts on siding with him. Losing horse, wouldn't bet on tax reform to pass easy. I totally agree with you, Luca. But that doesn't mean that Trump cannot deliver something promising today in words. The market getting a little bit enthusiastic about it, pushing higher, and then of course within a few days start seeing the first signs that what he said was nice but doesn't look likely that it can pass or whatever, and then the market getting disappointed and rolling over.
People who buy headlines today sell newspapers tomorrow. Just keep that in your head for tomorrow, guys. Steve could be right, because Steve is right a lot. Okay, so I don't like to be on the other side of the trade with Steve. Just something for you to be aware of. And Steve, have you wrapped it up, buddy?
Just one answer, one question I want to answer. V is short with me from 79.60. He says Aussie USD looking for a break of 77.86. 77.86. Okay, I don't know what you see exactly at 77.86, but okay.
It's a weekly triangle breakout. 77.80. Yeah, that line going across previous tops.
Okay, to add more shorts for a move, 75.70, 75.70. Yeah, I agree with 75.70.
We're going to negate the ascending triangle breakout.
Okay, yeah. Still, to be honest, 78.20 is my first target, V, because breaking below this low here is going to put another coffin in the nail. Of this move that ended with this ascending wedge. So for me, it's this confluence of the 38.2 with this low at 78.20. If we break below there, I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to be adding, but what I'm going to do, for example, is that if I see a reaction from this line and we go back there, that's where I'm going to be adding for another move lower. Okay. Okay, perfect. So
thank you, Steve.
Enjoy the interview and see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, Steve. I want to thank Steve for another great breakdown of everything. Is there anything he can't cover for our community? And Mandy, welcome to FACE. Everyone welcome Mandy Rafsanjani. Looking forward to hearing your voice. I know it's late. Did you take an energy drink a few hours ago, Mandy, my friend?
Energy drink. I just cut off my webinar training with my group, so I'm still fired up.
All right. So, I've been looking forward to this interview for a while. You see the screenshot, the share screen option?
I see it. I'm not quite sure what you want me to share, though.
Well, if you wanted to share charts, if not, we could talk about things and I could share my charts. So that's fine. It can be this type of audio. So let me just share my chart.
No, I share my chart. I'm happy. I
Okay.
love sharing my chart. Let me share my chart. So,
Yeah, it just says screen share and then which screen, just in case you wanted to talk about what you're seeing in a few instruments. The picture speaks without words. There you go.
Can you see
You're
my
up now.
screen now? Yeah.
Got it. Yes, Mandy. So Mandy, thanks for taking time. It's great to meet you, and this is my first opportunity. Thank you so much, Mandy. And it's my first opportunity to interview you. We had some fun over Twitter, and it seems like we're both trading psychiatrists and trying to help people, put them on the couch and, you know, see what they're doing emotionally, psychologically to sabotage themselves. And the only reason we know that is possibly we've seen it in others or ourselves. But you know what? I like to start with this, Mandy. How did you get into the business? So why don't you tell us a little bit about the beginning of your journey? Who influenced you? Did you have a mentor? Was it a key book or author? Tell us about the start of your journey in the trading industry.
Oh, I really don't like to go back there. You know, it was so painful.
Okay, well, you know what? We learn. Others learn. You know, a lot of people, most people I talk to, Mandy, I ask them, how long did it take before you had epiphanies or breakthroughs in trading? And, you know, most people come into it with unrealistic expectations. The standard answer I get is about 4 years before, you know, that much screen time before people start believing in themselves that they can actually extract money from the market. But you know what? A lot of people think that they're the only ones when they start off going through, you know, a painful process trying to learn a new skill. And it's actually helpful for people to know that traders that are now doing well in the business actually went through the same thing or maybe even worse than what they're going through too. It kind of makes them feel like they're not a failure, but that it's just part of the learning curve.
Who knows, maybe they're a failure. So,
well,
yeah, you know, it's starting off very confrontational. I like that.
Okay.
So how I got into trading was so I'm German, in case you were wondering about my accent, and I lived in Hong Kong for 5 years, and then I met an Aussie guy and moved to Australia. And in Hong Kong, I was quite successful running my own business, and I solidly identified myself through my business success, my funky mobile phone. There wasn't even Apple, it wasn't even, no one even knew that Apple existed at the time. And so iPhones. And, you know, my funky flat. And when I came to Australia, also when you live as a Caucasian in an Asian country, you are already different just by the way you look, right? So when I came to Australia, I didn't have this privilege anymore of being different and being special and being paid an enormous amount of money just because I had a different color of skin, you know, I came from a different country. And so I kind of was lost here. I hated Australia and I missed Hong Kong, everything about Hong Kong, and tried to make friends, couldn't really find any friends. And so went to the gym.
What an adjustment period.
Yeah, it was hard. It was all worth it though in hindsight. And so I went to, I saw this flyer in the gym saying a night of success, free seminar. I thought, free seminar, maybe I meet people there. My partner at the time, he was working night shift, so he was doing shift working, he was in IT. And so I was on my own anyway, so I went to this seminar, and for the first time in my life, I heard about the wonderful world of wealth creation. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. I never knew that existed. And so shortly after, I worked for Siemens, a German company. I found a job there. So when I got my work permit, but then I was hooked. And you know, a work colleague gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I went to a seminar. It was called Wealth Accelerator Principles. It was in the year 2000, and it was a 3-day seminar, covered trading, property, and business. And I had no clue. I was so fresh. I thought, there's this wonderful world out there that I've never heard of. And I paid for a seminar. I was able to get my partner at the time excited as well to join me. And those guys said, look, if it is all too hard for you, give us your money and we will invest it for you. Very naive as I was, you know, I went to the bank, got a $10,000 loan and gave them my money. And you know how the story ended. They disappeared to America. So if you guys find him somewhere in America, please let me know. I'll hunt him down for my $10,000. It was a very good experience. And
yeah, so you had like a lot of people, and Mandy, that's a great example, because you know that's why our industry has grown, in my opinion. That after the 2000 .com crash and then the financial market crash in 07-08, people started saying, you know what? If I'm going to lose money, I'm going to do it myself. Okay, and they wanted to learn skills to become self-directed. Therefore, the boom in trading education, etc. So you learned that lesson early. So that's great.
I did.
Yeah.
And lucky, because that was the very thing that got me into trading. So you know the story about the farmer who found this beautiful horse, this beautiful stallion, and the people in the village say, oh, that's really good luck, and the farmer says, well, good luck, bad luck, who knows? You know the story, right? And so it's always, we don't know if it is good luck or bad luck what happens. It's always whatever happened in my life, I had the mindset of, and I didn't know that at the time, right? I know that looking back at it, that whatever happens, I just find a way to make the most and the best out of it. Even something that seemed bad luck, I was determined to turn that into something that will end up as a good luck for me. And it was the same thing with this one. So I went back to the event organizers and I said, hey, you know, I paid you good money, and the guy just off with my money on top. And what have you got? And I said, well, you can attend another seminar for free. We can't get you your money back, but it's equal value for what you paid for the seminar. And that was an options trading seminar. And so this is how I got into trading. I then discovered options trading, and I never saw myself as a trader. I never saw myself as someone who was smart with money. Looking at my family dynamics, my brother was the one, or still is the one, who was like super successful, and he was the intelligent, the smart one, and I was the nice one, you know, the one that people liked, but I wasn't considered as smart or successful. And that defined me, you know, throughout my life. And even though looking back now, running my own business in Hong Kong was quite successful, at the time I didn't see myself as being successful. So
well, that was your paradigm. So you know, they say, like, I don't know if you ever watch guys like Robert Proctor, but you know, by the time we're 3 years old, when we're completely open before our ego, everything we hear around us we take as gospel, and that's who we become until we recognize what we've been fed and begin to reprogram our software. So losing that 10 grand and going into the options market created a new paradigm for you, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, and of course, like everyone did, and look, that was in the year 2002 or 2001, I believe. I have to double check because I can't really remember. It was around 2000, 2002. I think it was 2002. So of course, like everyone else, I thought I had found the holy grail in trading, and I thought that I'm going to have a Ferrari in front of my door, you know, within 6 months, and that was it. And people warned me, you know, they said to me, the biggest challenge that traders have is being disciplined. And I said, look, I'm German. We have invented discipline. I did not believe them. Yeah, Seriously, that's what I said to them. I'm German. I know how to follow rules, right? Because this is what we are famous for. For some weird reason, it didn't work out like that in my trading.
Yes,
So,
yes. Rules can be broken when money's on. Yeah, it seems like money can pollute everything. So, all right. So you went through an experience of being undisciplined in your trading, and we know what happens then. So, how did you learn to be disciplined, as I'm sure you are now?
Yeah. So, of course, I first went through the round of learning every discipline under the sun. I studied Elliott Wave, I studied GAN, I studied, you name it, I've studied it. And at the time when I started, there was no internet. You know, I had to go to seminars and buy books. Fancy that. No one buys books anymore, right? So, and then a friend of mine said, look, this trading guru, he went to Landmark Education. This is what changed his trading. And I didn't know anything about personal development at that time, I have to admit. And I thought, Landmark Education, what's that? And I was at the point where I was willing to do anything. I had to crack this thing with trading. I was so determined, and I was very neurotically determined, very unhealthy. And so I guess that makes me a good coach today, because I was like the epitome of how not to be as a trader and what personality one has who fails as a trader. So I went to Landmark, and for the first time I was confronted with, wow, there might be some areas in my life that I need to clean up. And so this is where my journey into personal development, into personal discovery started, really. And then I did the same thing. I did all the seminars under the sun. I did, you know, the whole Tony Robbins courses, all the Landmark courses, anything I could find in terms of personal development, I did. I became a life coach, accredited life coach, not necessarily to coach, but because I wanted to figure myself out. I wanted to find out what was the very thing that stopped me from becoming successful in trading. And, you know, the way I looked at myself was, what is wrong with me? What is the one thing that I need to fix in order to succeed? And you and I, we both know this is the very thing that kept me stuck in not succeeding. So, yeah,
trying to find out what it was.
Finding out what it was that was wrong with me, rather than looking at
what was right with you.
What is right with me.
Yes.
And so,
okay. Yeah.
And there was a very good reason why I had to look at myself in that manner, because family dynamics, I was the scapegoat, the black sheep in my family. And please don't misunderstand me. I had a really healthy, safe upbringing. I was never abused, was always fed, good middle class family, but my emotional needs weren't met. And I see that almost everyone goes through that, right? I mean, show me one person who hasn't been screwed up in their upbringing. It's just, you know, not possible.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I married into an already made family. And before I got married, my stepdaughter said to me, Dale, do you think you could handle our dysfunctional family? And I said, oh, yes, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we all had some dysfunction. So really having a good self-image and having self-worth translates into better trading, rather than focusing on and forgiving ourselves possibly for our shortcomings, and focusing on our strengths and finding the trading style that suits our personality, that we're strong with, right?
Yeah. And at the time, I didn't know any of that. And again, there was no internet. I figured it out piece by piece by myself. So then in 2004, 2003, I became a life coach. 2004, 2005, I studied NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, became a master trainer, master practitioner, Erickson hypnosis.
Oh, you went into hypnotherapy too?
I did that too, yeah. So, but not the clinical one. It's only the Erickson one.
You know Louise Nonweller? You should talk to her. I've interviewed.
No,
Do you
I
believe
don't know.
in your training that hypnosis is mental surgery that can accomplish in a shorter period of time what repetition through tapes or anything else, whether you're sleeping or not, that hypnosis helps you accomplish, get from point A to point B faster? Or do you think NLP does, or do you need a combination of all?
Yeah, I'm a big believer. It's like a car. A car doesn't just run on tires, or just doesn't run just on fuel.
Great
Or
metaphor.
yeah, so it is a combination that needs to work in harmony. So even if you have the best car, the Ferrari, without fuel, it's not going to work. So I am a big fan of hypnosis because, as you know, it surpasses the critical faculty, and we get to the deep-seated blockages so much faster, and also without needing necessarily to go back into the past. Some love going back into the past. I did love going back to the past. I asked my mom a lot about my past because I had it completely blanked out. I could not remember anything before the age of 10. Now that was telling as well. And I love discovering that. But again, I had a very safe childhood. So if you had someone who had experienced abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, for them it might not be safe. They might not choose to go back into the past.
Yeah.
So hypnosis helps to uncover the deeper blocks without having them to go through their trauma again. I believe hypnosis works beautifully with so I like to work on 3 levels, you know. So there's the cognitive level, obviously, then there's the emotional level, and then there's the mental level, and the spiritual level. So hang on, let me do that again. So if you look at blockages, let me look at it from a different viewpoint. If you look at blockages, there's 4 areas of blockages. So there's the spiritual blockages, the emotional blockages, and the mental blockages, and they manifest in physical blockages. So if we don't have enough money in our lives to trade or to pay for training, that is a physical blockage. That is the result of a mental and or spiritual and or emotional blockage. So we might have had a bad experience with money where money equals pain, and then we don't want to have money around. So then we create this physical blockage around money so that we don't have money in our life. So that meaning as soon as money comes in, we get rid of it, spending it, losing it in the markets, whatever it is that we create, because money is so scary and painful, and that stuff runs in our unconscious. And I like using hypnosis for these kind of blockages. It's just it's easier on the trader. Yeah.
So I mean, you come from a completely different angle, a holistic approach to coaching people. And, you know, you are a life coach that trades. So it's interesting. Are these the things that you do with your clients and members and people that follow you, is that you take them through all of these different processes, not just showing them trading techniques, but having them hold up the mirror and learn about themselves?
Look, in Australia, we are technically not allowed to teach without a license. It's a very gray area at the moment where they say you're allowed to teach technique without giving advice. I find it a little bit scary because, I mean, how can you talk about the markets without talking about the setup? Eventually it will slip out. And if ESIC wants to get you, they are going to get you. So I stay completely out of teaching technique. I leave that to people like, I don't know, Tony Sycamore, you know, people who have a license and who are qualified. I know Tony's going to be on your show, which is amazing. You'll love him. So I leave that to those kind of people, and I prefer to team up with them because they have the licenses, and the license is like $2,000 a month or something ridiculous.
Yeah, my gosh, I didn't know Australia had a rule like that you can't even talk about setups. You can get around that by saying it's for educational purposes.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just really careful because I know if ESIC wants to get you, then they will, and I'm not risking that. So I decided to focus solely on on mindset, on the emotional stuff. Also because I love it, and yeah, I think it's hard to do both. So what I do with my traders at first is I do a total assessment. As you said, I come from very many different angles because we human beings, we are very versatile. So first I do an assessment of what is your behavioral profile. So I'm not talking about personality, I'm talking about behavioral preferences. And that's what we call eDisc. I'm an eDisc trained person, coach.
Okay.
So eDisc goes into behavioral preferences. How do we respond to challenges? How do we respond to conflict? Where we are at in our lives, do we have conflict in our life, or is everything congruent? If we have an incongruence in our lives, that will impact on our trading, right? So this is the first assessment that I do. The second assessment I do is I look at the 6 core needs. As you know, the Tony Robbins one, I love them because a lot of traders look for certainty in their lives, or most human beings look for certainty in their lives. They can look for certainty in a resourceful way or in an unresourceful way. So I look at how do the 6 core needs play out in my trader's life at the moment. Do they need to be...
Yeah, that's great because, you know, what I forgot who said it, you know, men lead lives in quiet desperation. Robert Proctor says that so many people are risk averse, Mandy, that they're really just hoping to make it from this side to the end of their life safely.
Yeah, exactly. Now the question is, why is that so? And so once I have identified or really solidly assessed my trader and know where they're at in all areas of their life and what their makeup is in terms of behavioral preferences. So if I have a trader who is, let's say a high D person, you know, high D in terms of disc, so they're dominant, they're the go-getters. I need to work with them very differently than I have someone who's a high I, who is for whom it is very important to be liked and who are very people-oriented rather than fact and figures-oriented.
Yeah,
so I need to know that
they're the ones always seeking approval. Like, look at that great call I made, and what a boy! Did you see what I did in the euro? Those people.
Exactly, those people. And for me to understand where they're at, I'm the last person who can judge anyone. Really, I have no reason to judge anyone. So for me, it's a completely judgment-free zone. I always say that to my traders. It's like, be open and honest so I know what to do with you and how to work with you and how to empower you and help you to be the best version of yourself. So when we have, for example, a high D trader, and they are also high I, they are very well suited for short-term trading, for scalping. I love scalping, it's so me, but extremely bad at long-term holding. Whereas when you have someone who's a high C and a lower D, they can't do short-term. They need to think things through. They are very suited for longer-term trading. So all of this information I get through my assessments. And I see if I have a trader who has been trained in short-term trading and I see that their behavioral preferences is longer-term trading. I know I need to send them to one of the educators to teach them. And I say, look, try this out, try it on and see how you feel with that kind of trading. You don't have emotional problems. It's just you're driving the wrong car for, like, you know, you're driving a sexy AMG SLK 63 Black Series on the beach. You need a sturdy 4-wheel drive here, right?
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, so once I have done.
What a great interview. And so what would you say, and I know you can't pigeonhole it, is the number one issue that most people come to you with that you have to resolve?
It depends on which level of trader I work with. So if it is retail traders, it's definitely I'm not disciplined and patient. Fix me. When I work with institutional traders, bank traders, prop traders, hedge fund managers, very different story. Most of them want to stay private, and they're extremely private, so I prefer not to talk about them if that's okay. Just
fine,
to respect
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But so,
go ahead.
But with most retail traders, so let me give you an insight into what makes one trader successful and the other one not. Would that be useful?
Sure.
I can pigeonhole that. So,
Okay.
and I actually can, I think, even share slides. Let me do that. Oops, I just need to move that over here. Voila. So that's from a training that I ran before. So where is it? So when we look at human beings in terms of being screwed up as we grow up in childhood, and as I mentioned before, my brother is the one who is the successful one, and I was always the one who was not seen as a successful one, but the sweet little one, right? The one who has compassion, who understands people. And so when we look at family dynamics, usually the older one, and I'm generalizing here, okay, it can be different in individual situations, but usually the older person, the older sibling, is the one that's what we're calling an overperforming dysfunction. And the dysfunction can be on a scale from 0 to, let's say, 5. And so 5 is extremely dysfunctional, and 0 is close to being functional. So the overperforming dysfunction is a perfectionist, judges others, super organized, intolerant of making mistakes. And so everything that you see on the slide now, they don't like strong emotions, so they're cut off from their emotions. They're extremely self-focused, and that's the very thing that makes them super successful. Makes them usually pretty bad husbands, though, because they have no access to their emotions. And these are the traders who don't need to do the work that I would do with most other traders. Like, they don't need to do meditation, they don't need to understand their emotions, because these guys, they perform, they make the millions of dollars. So
if it's a male with these qualities, and a wife is looking for a great divorce settlement, this is their candidate.
Yeah, exactly. Look for those guys. Now, I can also describe what kind of wife they are looking for. So we can handle all of that. It's humans are beautiful, very predictable.
Yes.
And I can also tell you at what stage they're going to divorce and trade up to the next younger model. So, and you know, this is not being judgmental. This is those guys. They are also they have been brought up like that. Yes. You also have to remember that they are kind of victims in the whole thing as well, because I see a lot of super successful traders who are empty inside. And this is what I work with them, the emptiness. Is I have everything. I have the cars, the house, I have the women, I have everything, and I feel so alone.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
wow. What an interesting profession you have, Mandy.
I just
and what
love
a
it
service.
So yeah.
And what a service you're performing. I mean, all these things I think are a lot more important than knowing what a falling wedge or rising wedge is, or head and shoulders stop. So go ahead.
The interesting
what do you
thing
want to
is,
wrap it with?
Oh, wrap it? You only gave me 30 minutes. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's fine. But you know, it's fine. In fact, go as long as you like.
No, I'm happy to wrap it up with this one. So then you look at the flip side. So this is who I used to be. I used to be the younger sibling. And because my brother was the overperforming, the only way I had to be in my family dynamics was to be the underperforming. So I was the typical, I can't be disciplined and patient, what's wrong with me? Victim. Yeah. So very, very emotional, drama. And so I didn't know all of this. So in a nutshell, if you are underperforming, in order to move towards functional, we never will be perfectly in the middle, right? But it's just moving towards a scale of 1 or 2, and then you're doing fine. You can perform in your trading, in your relationships equally. So if you are underperforming, you're extremely emotional, you don't have any boundaries in place with people, other humans, hence you can't take your losses as well. Because people who have boundaries in place with other people, healthy boundaries, they also can take their losses really easily. Very interesting.
Yeah, that is.
And they're usually doormats because they don't know their emotions. They don't know what their needs are. They live up to complete other people's needs and to satisfy other people's needs, but they don't know what they need, and hence they can't perform in trading because they live in an emotional soup that is not conducive to successful trading. So what I do with these guys, surprise, surprise, I teach them how to keep performance statistics because they will have no structure. They will hate structure. Their life is a mess, and I teach them how to have a sorted, organized life, teach them structure in their life, teach them performance statistics so that their emotions are being balanced out with facts and figures. So when they have the fear of, so when they're in a losing trade, they can then shift from feeling really bad and hurt and angry to what are my numbers saying? So they have something to shift their focus to. On the other hand, we also have to do healing work with their emotions as well, which I also do. So very much what Denise Schall does as well. She does a lot of healing work with emotions. I highly respect her. And with the overperforming, Denise Schall, S-H-U-L-L.
Oh, yes, I know Denise.
Yeah. Wendy, yeah, she's amazing. So I really respect her. And Steve Ward. So you asking who was defining in my trading career? Steve Ward. I adore this man. Amazing guy, super kind. And he was a defining factor in my trading. So with the overperforming ones, I introduce emotions because they don't know what their emotions are. And then they can balance out and become good husbands as well and don't have the need to replace external to define themselves. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so that's just a tiny little bit of what I'm doing.
You want to show your website, Mandy, and pass on some contact information besides your Twitter handle, so that I know that you could probably work on me for about a year. So the best way is what, at mpx_trader, or is there a web address?
So my website, sorry, is really bad. Oh, funny enough, it's Tony here. My website is really bad because I built it myself and I never have time to actually get this thing to update to, the funky websites that we have nowadays. But I think the content is pretty good. I put a lot of content on my site that I want to have really high quality content on my site. Okay. So I hope that makes up for it looking not so good. That's my website.
It does. What's the web address?
Sorry, it's tradingpsychology.com.au.
Okay. Mandy, it's been a pleasure, and you opened my mind. I learned some things about myself today. So I really did, and I think you're doing great work to people, because what good is money if you're not happy?
Yeah,
right?
And more than that, feeling lonely and all those level of emotions. Yeah.
What a great mission you have, and I wish you success, that your work touches thousands upon thousands of people, so that what they think is an issue, which is just money, you help them discover what will bring that to them, along with having some contentment in their life. So Congratulations, my trading warrior sister, and your vision and your mission. And I am very happy that I met you, and I'd love to talk to you again down the road.
I am so looking forward to that. And thank you so much for having me on your show. And it's a total privilege for me.
Oh, thank you so much, Mandy. I'm glad that I found you on Twitter. I'm grateful to Twitter because I found you there. And we'll edit the interview and produce it, and I'll drop it on Twitter for you and retweet it later on today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you, Mandy.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye, Mandy. And thank you, Face. Good hunting the rest of the day. Tomorrow, investing.com will be streaming us. We're going to have Jim Welsh here tomorrow. So above all, just after listening to Mandy, it reminds me of my favorite expression. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And I'll see all you warriors tomorrow. Adios.